International Expeditions is pleased to be bringing you this webinar, Uganda, Tanzania, and Custom Safari Options for Adventures in Africa. And I'd like to start by turning it over to your hosts this evening. We are joined this evening by Bill Robison and Kim Guth. And Kim, Bill, over to you.
Ladies first, Bill, I'll go first. I've been in the travel industry for almost 30 years now. I migrated to the International Expeditions family from the Park East office that was located in New York, and I'm very happy to be part of the IE family. My sole responsibility in supporting sales here is to design custom itineraries to my favorite part of the world, Africa, East, South, and Southern. We also customize in South and Central America and some in Asia. Africa is my absolute favorite spot in the whole world, so I'm excited to get started. But Bill?
Well, thank you, Kim. I'm Bill Robison. I'm the Director of Program Development here at IE, and I'm also in charge of our East Africa group safaris and special safaris there. I've been in the business about 19 years now. Came to IE in 2008 from Intrav and Clipper Cruise Line, where I escorted groups and led groups and did safaris there as well. And like Kim, safari is a big passion of mine, and I'm looking very much forward to talking to you about Tanzania tonight.
Well, thank you, Bill. Hello, this is Christy Hill. I serve on the marketing team here at International Expeditions, and I'm thrilled to be joined tonight by true nature enthusiasts such as our esteemed panelists and our valued guest audience. Thank you all for participating. Our friend Ron Magill joins us tonight. Ron has decades of experience working with wildlife. He's currently the Goodwill Ambassador and Communications Director of Zoo Miami. He's made countless appearances on a variety of programs, is an award-winning photographer, and is genuinely a nice guy to boot. We're going to hear more from Ron in a bit, but we just wanted to say hello and welcome back, Ron. Ron has guest lectured with International Expeditions before, and we're very pleased to have him back for an adventure in Uganda. Tonight we'll also be hearing from Bill, the next slide please, wildlife biologist and TV personality Jeff Corwin. Jeff was unfortunately unable to meet with us in person tonight, but he has sent a special message inviting you to Tanzania that you won't want to miss. So without further ado, let's get this safari started. That's one of our vehicles, and if we forward one more, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with International Expeditions, we just wanted to share a bit of background about who we are that you can see on your screen. Basically, IE has worked for 36 years to provide our guests with immersive opportunities to discover the world. We feature world-class guides that lead every International Expeditions journey, spotting wildlife and providing you with insight into the culture and acting as your host. And as you'll hear tonight, we supplement some of our destinations on select departures with renowned subject experts. And so we are thrilled to have them with us and be able to speak to you about those tonight. So I'm going to turn it now back to Kim and Bill to speak about Africa and why it's such a wonderful place.
Thanks, Christy. And Ron will speak more to this, as will Jeff and Bill regarding Tanzania, but just why Africa in general. Here's three pretty key points, but personally, I would like to say that safari is a true be-in-the-moment experience. Yesterday doesn't matter, tomorrow isn't even a thought, and it's just all about today. What's it going to take to get through today? And that could be said for whether we're talking about wildlife or people. I mean, the animal kingdom is just a beautiful, grand design. It amazes me every single time I go. Not only do you not know what's going to happen when you get up every morning, but every species has a role, has a place, has a purpose. Every marking, every stripe, every size, horn, shape, it's all for a reason, and it all works together. Everybody has their place, whether it's markings to help animals for grazing or to forage or for, most importantly, camouflage from predators. It's all very, very fascinating. Along with the wildlife, we'd be here all night if we started to talk about the flora and the fauna, the birds, the butterflies, the various tribes and traditions, which will be a part of your itineraries. You have access to locals at each and every lodge. They're all very nice, kind, friendly people. They're eager to share, and they will always have a big smile on their face. So the experience is not just wildlife based. There's a lot to learn from each other and from those that will be around you throughout the safari.
And Kim, let me add to this. This is Ron speaking. I've been to Africa 50 times, 50 times, 11 different countries, and I'm going to tell you this. I first went to Africa for the wildlife. I returned to Africa because of the people. And I think, one of the common questions I get asked all the time is, gosh, is it safe? Is it safe? Everybody has these visions of being in these horrible places or being in danger and this and that. And I can tell you, having traveled to Africa 50 times, I feel 100 times safer in Africa than I do walking in the city here in Miami. It's one of these places that there's a sereneness to it. When you get out into the bush, you will never feel safer in your life than you do in the bush of Africa. It is just one of the most magical places. The people are the most magical people I have met traveling around the world anywhere. Like I said, I went there originally for the animals. I returned because of the people. When you get to Africa the first time, it will be in your blood and you will be back.
You're right. You're very right, Ron. I'm not sure who has the controls to slide. Send it to me so I can advance the slide, please.
You bet, Kim. This is Lee. I think you should be able to click in, and let's see if you can take control. Not working for you?
No, it's not.
Okay, let's see.
If you'll just advance that for me.
You bet. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
So Uganda and Tanzania, that's what we're here to talk about this evening, and we're going to start off first with Uganda, and you can advance that, please, Lee.
I guess that's my cue. I am hoping to lead a trip to Uganda in June, and I've got to tell you, I've been there several times. Uganda is one of those magical places. First of all, I think as a little kid, I grew up in a small apartment in New York City watching Wild Kingdom, National Geographic specials, watching Diane Fossey, watching these incredible mountain gorillas on a small black and white screen. Nothing will make an impact on you more impressive than to be able to walk into a place and see one of these magical, majestic animals, 15, 20 feet in front of you in the wild. Uganda doesn't just offer the gorillas. You've got Murchison Falls, you've got Queen Elizabeth Park, and there's still this wonderful, a bit of a newness to it that's really fantastic in the sense that it's not overly touristed. It's very controlled. When you see the gorillas, that's a very controlled environment. You have an hour basically to see them because you don't want to overwhelm these animals. You're not surrounded in a very touristy type of setting. You really feel very special, very kind of isolated in this magical world. I can tell you that Uganda has come a long way. Having been there, the accommodations are fantastic. The guides are amazing. The precautions that are taken to go to see these gorillas is really fantastic. There's no guarantees of anything, but I can tell you I've been there 5 times, and every time I've been there I've seen the gorillas. When you look at something like Murchison Falls, you get to stand on the top of those falls and you look at the power of these falls going down there, the kind of wildlife you're able to see, everything from shoebill storks to crown cranes to crocodiles to hippos. It is mind-blowing as you go there on the Nile looking up towards Murchison Falls. It is something right out of a movie. There's no way to adequately describe in words or even to show in images the kind of impression this trip will make on your life. It is a bucket list trip, and I can't encourage you enough to try to get on that list, to try to get on a trip like this, because like I said, it will change your life. It will change your perspective on life and really, I think, set your priorities in a different order. It is one of the most amazing experiences you can have. That photograph of Murchison Falls doesn't do any justice to the power of standing up there, of hearing it, of feeling it. You feel it in your chest as you feel that water plunge down through. is really quite an amazing experience.
And while we're on Murchison Falls, Ron, I'll just insert a little bit of information and then we'll continue on. This is Uganda's largest protected area. It has 14,825 square miles. Here we will do a Nile launch trip, which on every single evaluation we get back is a highlight. The game viewing is excellent. Hippos in the hundreds, some of the largest crocs that are left in Africa, herds of buffalo, water buck, giraffe, bush buck, colobus monkeys, elephant, I mean, it just goes on. And the bird life is stunning. Very good chance here because of all the papyrus lined along the banks to see the beloved shoebill. We'll also be able to get an aerial view from an excursion to the top of Murchison Falls. Again, getting that aerial view and understanding the power and the drop and the strength of the falls from the top and from the bottom is excellent. And of course, we will do game drives conducted in the northern part of the park where the wildlife viewing is the best. The picture of the private boat that we will have for the launch cruise, again, a real highlight. The walking safaris in Kibale. Do you want to share a little bit about Kibale, Ron?
Sure. It's fantastic. It's one of the best places in all of Africa, first of all, to see chimps, among other primates like the colobus monkeys, both red and black and white colobus. To hear the chimps, your guides are just, they're so phenomenal. They really, I'm telling you, after a trip like this, you will feel like those guides are part of your family. The knowledge they have, the type of information they share with you. I mean, it's not terribly technical information. I don't want people to think when you're going, oh, do I need to know a ton about zoology? No, you don't. You will learn about this stuff without even realizing you're learning about it. That's how great these guides are. They're going to show you how these chimps will communicate, how they use the buttress roots, how they actually, you know, have their own series of drumming language and communicating across the forest. You'll be able to learn about how important a canopy is. You know, if you're lucky, you might see chimps on the ground, but more likely you'll be seeing them up in the canopy, and you'll hear the sounds. You hear how they move through that canopy. The bird life in Kibale Forest is phenomenal. The butterflies, holy jeez. You know, people think of Africa, they always think of the big animals, the mega vertebrates, you know, the chimps, the gorillas, the elephants, the lions. It's the little things sometimes that'll knock your socks off. I've been in Kibale sometimes, and I've seen just flats of mud where there are thousands and thousands of butterflies trying to get water out of those flats of mud. It is one of the most amazing experiences you could ever see.
Yeah, Kibale is a nature lovers park. It's only 290 square miles in area, but there are at least 60 mammal species. It's rich with primates. Over 13 species have been recorded here, the highest of any Ugandan park. It's got the largest concentration of primates, and as Ron was saying about the chimpanzee experience, we're not just going on a walk with a guide. We have, for this particular trip, are going to be spending the day, or you'll be spending the day with researchers learning about their habituation program. So you will get top knowledge of their insights as well. There's a swamp and a forest walk. Each guest can expect to see, you know, at least 5 to 6 primate species. Bird watching, as Ron said, is amazing. In Uganda, there's over 1,000 bird species. In Kibale alone, 335, have been recorded, and 4 species not recorded in any other park. So, you know, Kibale, again, different than Murchison, but a lot to offer. Primate? Yeah.
Monkeys.
And I think the time spent with the researchers with the chimpanzees is going to add a really special element. Some of the biggest elephants I've ever seen. The last group we had that was there in January had fantastic leopard sighting. Lion, of course. And Ron, I'll let you talk about the trekking experience, if you would.
I'll tell you, the trekking experience is amazing. You know, the guides are usually, they have been watching, we're talking the trekking with the gorillas or the chimps?
The gorillas, sorry.
Okay, right. So the trekking experience is amazing in the sense that you see so many different parts of the forest as you're walking through. Now, I have been trekking where we have walked only an hour and we've come across the gorillas, and I've trekked where we walked 5 hours to come across the gorillas. So there's no real guarantee as to how soon you'll see the gorillas. In reality, there's no guarantee you will see the gorillas, but I must be honest with you, every time I've been there, I've seen the gorillas, and I haven't heard of any person that has gone there and not seen the gorillas. They're usually very cognizant of where the gorillas have been the night before. They have an idea. These trackers are amazing, the way they can get through the forest. You know, they'll notice one little broken twig or one little piece of hair, or they'll notice dung left behind by a gorilla, and it's incredible how they will be able to find it. Now, prepare yourself, because remember, this is a moist forest. Not that it's going to be raining, but it's usually moist. It can be misty. Everybody's heard about the gorillas in the mist. Well, that's not something that they just made up for a movie. It is, you're at a higher elevation, so you can get some neat mist and neat fog, but it just adds to the ambiance. You feel like you're in another world. You'll be walking through this forest, and really it seems like time has stopped. And that moment when you finally get to the gorillas, it is one of those things, you know, I have a favorite saying. My saying is that life is not measured by the number of breaths that you take. It's measured by the number of times your breath is taken away. That first experience when you look at a gorilla eye to eye is one of those moments that will take your breath away. You know, there are many different, I don't want to use the word rules, but guidelines that you need to follow in seeing the gorillas. And it's really not just for your safety, but for the safety of the gorillas. You know, I got to be honest, if you have a cold, if you have a cough or something like that, they're not going to allow you to go see the gorillas, because these type of zoonotic diseases that could be transferred to the gorillas could be catastrophic for a gorilla population. So you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. You want to make sure you don't have any type of cold or that type of transmittable problem going on. You know, they do not want you to get closer than 15 feet to these gorillas, but I can tell you, you will get to that 15-foot line, generally speaking, and if the gorillas come to you, you're not supposed to turn and run. Understand that that could be an issue, so you just get in the fetal position, you can't stay hunched, and be still. I've actually had a silverback kind of forearm me a little bit, and one of those experiences that took your breath away. But generally speaking, the term gentle giants is well deserved by these animals. They are just amazing to watch the interaction within the social groups, within the troops, you know, to watch how that silverback kind of decides when and where they move, to watch the curiosity of the infants looking at you and watching them play. You realize, you know, play in infants, whether it be humans, whether it be primates, whether it be almost any kind of animal, it seems to be universal. And it's just so gratifying to watch. Once you get to the gorillas, you have 1 hour. They don't want to overstress these animals. They don't want to overexpose these animals to human beings. So it really is for the safety of the gorillas that is a strict rule that's kept. So once you get there, start taking pictures, start enjoying the moment, because you basically have an hour and you're going to have to get going. And like I say, you can get there in an hour or you can get there in 5 hours. But enjoy the experience, the trek. There are a lot of nettles around there, so make sure you've got the type of proper clothing that you're commenting on, you know, that you're protecting your legs especially, and good quality hiking boots that keep your ankles sturdy, because it's not very level territory that you're going over. But again, it's so exhilarating. It's not something that you have to be in the absolute best shape to do. I don't want to dissuade somebody who thinks, oh, you know what, listen, I'm 56 years old. I do that hike and I do it fairly well without a problem. It's not something just for the young and fit. I mean, you have to be in some type of decent shape to be able to walk, but don't be discouraged by the fact that you do need to walk and climb a little bit, because it is doable, and the guides and the people will help you get there.
That's right, Ron, and that's a good point. The porters there will do absolutely anything to help you, to get you up, you know, to the family. And you may break into 2 smaller groups. You know, a little faster, and then a guide and porters that will be with you if you're a little bit slower. But the goal is to get you to the family so that you can spend that magical time, that hour. It goes by so quickly, and you know, as a rule, I would say get your pictures and then put your camera down. Enjoy it. I mean, it's incredible. The rule is that, you know, you can't touch them, but I've had infants roll over my feet, and all around you. They are gentle giants, and they're quite magnificent. But spend some time without the lens in front of you, and just that there's no other feeling like it. It's something you'll never forget.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to try and advance here. Look at those smiles. You'll see that from start to finish. Again, the interaction and the access that you have to local people at all of the lodges. As Ron says, the lodging is beautiful. They've all come a long way. A lot of them have swimming pools, fabulous views, all of the creature comforts, you know, electricity, hot and cold running water. This is in Ndali Lodge.
And I will promise you that the service is better than any service you have in the facility in the United States. The Ugandan people especially take great pride in making sure that you are comfortable, that you feel at home, and that you feel safe. The food is amazing. You know, people always tell me, oh my God, you know, what are you eating? There's so many misconceptions about Africa. I don't know why so many people have this prehistoric view about a continent that really to me, it sets the bar on what service should be. And the way they will do everything they can, bending over backwards to just make sure you're not just comfortable, but that you're elated, that you're having the experience of a lifetime.
And here's just some of the details of the trip. This is a total of 13 days. It begins and ends in Entebbe. You'll have 1 night at Entebbe, 3 nights at Murchison Falls, 2 at Kibale, 2 nights at Queen Elizabeth, and then 3 nights at Bwindi before returning to Entebbe for your departure home. Small group size, maximum of 12, plus 2 escorts, Ron being one of them, so you could be a maximum of 14. Nice sized group. 2 vehicles, everybody has a window seat.
And that is really important. I can tell you I've been on trips to Africa with, you know, 20, 30, or even higher groups of people, and that intimate small group makes all the difference in the world and the kind of experience you're going to have. It really does.
Beautiful sunsets. And I'm going to turn this now over to Bill for Tanzania, but we'll all still be here for any Q&A at the end. All of this can be found on our website, so I hope we didn't talk too fast, but you know, i.e. I'm available here for phone calls, emails to follow up with. So now on to Tanzania.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. That's great. I agree. Uganda's a magical place, and seeing the gorillas is certainly just one of the greatest things you can do, truly life-changing. We use that phrase a lot, but it absolutely applies with the gorillas. But let's head a little further east to their neighbor in Tanzania, a place that is truly synonymous with safari, with big game, with wildlife in general. The unbelievable beauty of the savannas, the extinct volcanoes, the beautiful soda lakes, the baobab trees. The scenery is diverse as the wildlife is in Tanzania. It is home to the Great Migration, Ngorongoro Crater, and all of the Big Five. This is a premier safari destination. But let's hear what Jeff has to say about it. Oh, actually on the next slide. Well, let me tell you a little bit about it then. Tanzania, we're going to visit their 4 signature parks, each one with a different ecosystem. We have Tarangire National Park, Lake Manyara National Park, Ngorongoro, and the Serengeti. And it's important to note that we'll spend 5 nights in the Serengeti, 2 in the central and 3 in northern. So we get a good in-depth and diverse experience in this most important part of East Africa, and to maximize our chances with the Great Migration, which we'll talk about here in a bit as well. And I think this is where Jeff is going to chime in.
Hey there, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jeff Corwin, and while I'm sorry I couldn't be with you live, I'm truly very excited to see you this fall as we explore the amazing Serengeti, one of my most favorite places on the planet. I have to tell you, guys, there's so much to discover in Tanzania. You've got the Rift Valley in northern Tanzania, which covers an area complete with iconic landscapes like scrub forests and sweeping savannas. It is roughly the size of my home state of Massachusetts, yet is one of the most biologically richest places on the planet. We'll explore parks like Tarangire and Lake Manyara, which is home to wildlife like elephants and wildebeest, lions, and of course giraffes, these iconic creatures which go on this epic migration through the Mara Serengeti ecosystem in search of good places to eat and bring in the next generation of their species. I have to tell you, Africa is such an incredible place. That's why I love it, why I love to explore it. Oh, I'm so excited to share it with you. I certainly hope to see you all this fall. In the meantime, I'll let my friends at International Expeditions take over this webinar. See you in September.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jeff. Obviously, Jeff is a big part of what we're doing there in Tanzania. We're really excited to be working with him, and he's a big highlight of our trip that we've planned there for you. So just some information about the trip. Note that we use 4x4 Land Cruisers on our trip. We don't use the minivans. We have a maximum of 6 per vehicle, and that guarantees that everyone has a window seat and plenty of room to move around. You'll see some pictures here in a bit. And a maximum of 6 per vehicle. Nobody uses the jump seats. You're also going to have 1 set of naturalist guides throughout Tanzania. And we're going to be exploring, looking for the big 5. You can see some info on that here. Lion, elephant, and buffalo are the most common of the big 5, with leopard and rhino being the ones that are harder to spot. But did you also know about the little 5? This is something fun that you learn when you go there. Africa has their big 5 and their little 5. The little 5 are the leopard turtle, the rhinoceros beetle, the lion ant, the elephant shrew, and the buffalo weaver. And if you can spot all of the little 5 as well, you are just the coolest safari goer ever, especially the elephant shrew, because that one's really tough to see. It's a nocturnal one, the one that I haven't seen yet, but you're going to see a lot of the others. You probably know about the Great Migration. It has been called the World Cup of Wildlife, or the greatest wildlife show on Earth. And whatever you call it, it is truly a sight to behold at any time of the year. Migration is a year-round experience. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit, but note that we've scheduled the trip to be structured in a way that's going to allow us the maximum chance of spending as much time with the migration as possible. But let's start here in Serengeti, which is our first stop on the trip. Serengeti is one of Tanzania's largest and certainly its most interesting park. These large baobab trees that you can see in the distance, it really gives the park a prehistoric look. It's an amazing landscape, unlike any other, very, very unique and well known for that. This is the best park in Tanzania to spot elephants. They have the highest density of elephants in all of East Africa, as well as the oryx, along with the rest of the big 5 as well, and a whole lot more. In fact, African dogs, if you're lucky, this is your best chance on the trip to see them. It would be here. Now we go over to Lake Manyara, which Hemingway called the loveliest he had seen in Africa. It's located beneath the cliffs of the Manyara Escarpment. It's right on the edge of the Rift Valley, and it has 4 or 5 different ecosystems in this rather small park. It gives it incredible bird life and just breathtaking views. More than 400 species of birds have been recorded here, and it is a raptor haven. It is a world-class spot for raptors. And beautiful views, as you can see here, of the Soda Lake, which attracts a lot of hippos, a lot of zebra, a lot of grazing animals along the shores, and a lot of pink flamingos. The park is also famous for its tree-climbing lions. You can't always see those, but that's another reason to visit the park. We'll keep an eye out for them. We have seen them there. And we'll enjoy a nice game drive and a picnic lunch here in the park. And that is before we move over to further west to Ngorongoro Crater, which is called the 8th wonder of the world, certainly on the list of the greatest natural wonders in the world. This caldera has an average of 30,000 large mammals at any given time. That's the largest concentration in Africa. And bring your binoculars as well, because you can see animals from your room at the lodge on the rim if you bring binoculars. Every room has a view of the crater there. This is the best location for black rhino. You can't see them in other parks, but here's your best chance. And great big elephants. This is a place where the older elephants come in later in their life to the soda lakes. They lose their teeth, and it's easier to chew on the vegetation that grows in those soda lakes before they die. So you see the very, very large elephants here. Lots of other animals, though. Hyena, the bad-eared fox, which is pretty ubiquitous. Those are fun to see. Lion, leopard, and all sorts of plains game. It's great game viewing. You kind of have a captive audience here. They're inside the caldera. So you have really good chances. We also enjoy a picnic lunch in the crater here before moving on further west to the big one, which is Serengeti National Park. East Africa's most exciting and famous national park. It's certainly Tanzania's largest at 5,700 square miles. That's larger than the state of Connecticut. And it's, of course, home to the great wildebeest migration. Really the great migration. There's other animals that migrate other than the wildebeest. But that's the largest concentration of migratory game in the entire world. It's obviously known for its big lion prides, But it's also home to the rest of the big five and species you'd expect to see on safari, like all the gazelles and elephants and giraffes and the like. It's also home to 500 species of birds, which is just an incredible number. And for those of you who don't think you're birders, this is the kind of trip that can convert you. I promise you, by the end of the trip, you will be so interested in being able to name the different birds that come by, because they are so colorful. They offer this color burst in an otherwise earth-toned or muted background. And the lilac-breasted roller is everybody's favorite. It's an easy one to spot, truly beautiful with all those colors. And it's just so funny to hear the folks by mid-trip, oh, there's a lilac-breasted roller, and getting into the birding. You might not come out a hardcore birder, but you're certainly going to enjoy it and have a better appreciation for them by the end of the trip. So the Great Migration, as we said, we've structured the trip to visit that as much as possible. It's really year-round and unpredictable. They follow the rains and the grass, and not all of the migration crosses into the Masai Mara in Kenya. But in general, January through March, they're found in the southern region of Serengeti, where they're calving, which is an amazing thing to see. I've been there during that time of the year to see how the animals, when they have calves, they're able to walk within minutes of birth, and some of them giving birth actually along the way. April and May, they are moving through central Serengeti, which is the Serenera area, into the northern sections of the park. Then June through September, they are typically in northern Serengeti and in the Masai Mara. The itinerary we have is central and northern, so we're really hoping to capitalize on that. October through December, they're making their way back down, and they do it again and again, year after year. Truly a sight to behold. Remember, we have 5 nights there in the Serengeti. You also have the option of a hot air balloon safari when we are at central Serengeti. I mentioned before that we use the 4x4 vehicles, the Land Cruiser Land Safari, or Land Cruiser Land Rover, Land Cruiser actually. Sorry, I don't see the slide advancing here. There we go. There's a happy group of value guests. It's got the pop-up roof so everybody can pop their head out there and get the 360-degree view for the great pictures, but also keep the sun off your head. It provides a nice bit of shade. Sliding windows, lots of area for photography. You get nice and close to the animals, all 4x4. And like I said, we don't use the jump seats. You know, we have backpacks, and we want everybody to be able to spread out. So we use deluxe lodges with moderate amenities all the way through. Tarangire Sopa Lodge is beautiful, great views. All the rooms here have a balcony. Elephants can often be seen around the lodge here. Like I mentioned, it has the highest density of elephants in East Africa, and they certainly like coming around the lodge for nice up-close pictures. All the rooms have AC, en-suite facilities. That'll be true of all the properties throughout. Hot and cold running water, shower, everything's modern. Ngorongoro Sopa is one of only 4 properties that is perched on the rim of the crater. No more are allowed to be built on the rim, and each room there has a glass-fronted view down into the crater, your own private little view down into the crater. And the public areas have great views as well. It's one of the best things about this property is the views. Serengeti Sopa, it's located on the edge of an escarpment overlooking the vast plains of the Serengeti. All the rooms here have balconies as well. So great views, great birding here as well, because the grounds are very well maintained with fruiting and flowering trees that attract the really colorful bird life. But the big hit is Migration Camp in northern Serengeti. This has got to be my favorite safari camp in all of Africa. It is such a magnificent experience. Food is really wonderful. It's very well managed. The tents are absolutely palatial, and they're very well spaced apart. So you get this tremendous feeling of having the Serengeti to yourself, except for all the wildlife you can hear around. You can hear the lions calling in the night, and the hyenas laughing, and the elephants trumpeting. It's really what safari is supposed to be, and what will touch you deepest about your experience there, coming so close to it like this. It was listed in Travel Leisure's top 10 hotels of the world. It's located right on the Serengeti River, one of the rivers that the migration has to cross to get up into Kenya. And that veranda goes all the way around your tent. All right, so here's the info on our trip with Jeff Corwin. Jeff is going to be joining us there at Migration Camp. He's going to be joining game drives. He'll be giving presentations. having meals with our guests, chatting with our guests. You'll have a lot of time with Jeff. This is where he'll be stationed and taking care of our guests. And this is, I wanted to stress, this is very inclusive when you're looking at the prices. You can see all of this on our web. Don't worry about jotting things down. But it includes all your accommodations, breakfast from breakfast the morning after you arrive till dinner the day of your departure. We've got you taken care of with bottled water throughout your arrival and departure transfers, no matter what day you arrive or depart. Don't worry, we'll pick you up and we'll take you back. You get your driver guides throughout the trip, and you wind up being, they're really good guys, and they're very interesting. And like Ron was saying, these are some of the nicest people, and they chose this job because they love being around people and they love sharing not only their knowledge of the wildlife, but just their culture, and you wind up being fast friends. And it's really sad when you say goodbye to them at the end. Then we also have an expedition leader taking care of your needs during the trip. It includes all of your gratuities, with the exception of your expedition leader and your internal flight from Serengeti to Arusha. So it's very inclusive. Okay, so hopefully those were exciting to you. Those are our biggies, but if not, Safari, one of the most wonderful things about it, it is infinitely customizable, if that's a word. If you want to combine Uganda and Tanzania, if you want to go up into Kenya, you want to do southern South Africa, you really love elephants, you just want to go after elephants, there's something to suit absolutely everybody in Africa. And I'm going to turn it back over to Kim, who's a specialist in doing that.
Thanks, Bill. I got so lost in reliving doing the gorilla trek when Ron was talking about it, but I wanted to share one thing with you, and I forgot. The group that I was referring to that we had the evaluations on, and this was from January, it took them, I think this is a record, only 30 minutes to find a family that had 16 members, and part of that was an orphaned infant that had quite fun with all of them. So. As Ron said, you know, it can be 30 minutes, it can be 3, 4, or 5 hours, but as long as I've been in travel, and especially since I've been here at International Expeditions, don't remember a departure, a group, not seeing them. So while we are not to guarantee, that has been my experience, and you heard Ron's. Following up on custom arrangements, yes. Very easy to do, and the combinations are endless. We can do, right here you see Namibia, the Sossusvlei Dunes. We do Botswana, the famous Delta, where you can do boat launches and Mokoro rides for a very different wildlife experience. Zambia, of course, with Victoria Falls, home of the walking safari, has some magnificent parks, as does Zimbabwe. And if you can't get enough of the primates, even if you're going to Uganda, easy enough to add on a Rwanda extension to see the gorillas from any of our safaris. And private, you know, we've got multi-generational families that are traveling now. We can do a private safari for you and your family. There are lodges that are kid-friendly, that have tracking programs or games that are learning, but they make it fun for the kids, and they'll try to identify the prints of animals. So you know, it works for the grandparents, the parents, and you know, kids pretty much of all ages. Or you might want you know, some of the accommodations that have these award-winning spas. Cities like Cape Town offer you vineyards. There's train travel possibilities. The possibilities really are endless. We work with a wealth of accommodations from budget to luxury. You can find exactly what works for you and your families. There's just so much to explore in Africa, and I know, like Ron said, you'll go once like I did and you'll be hooked, and there is plenty more to explore, and we'll hope that you'll do it with us, and we're happy to help you. Here is our website, toll-free number, email. We're happy to answer any questions we might not get to this evening, but Christy, do you have any that you want to share or that any of us can answer?
Certainly. We have someone in our audience that wants to know a little bit more about the insects. What's the situation with potential biting insects, and what's the best practices? What are the best practices?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Kim.
I was gonna say, Ron, to please address it, but I think it's another misnomer about Africa that you'll be, swarmed and attacked. But Ron, I'll let you go into some of your experiences.
Well, let me tell you, just from my personal experience, again, I've been there 50 times. My wife, God bless her, we're kind of opposites. I was kind of born raised by a farmer, raised horses out on a ranch. My wife was born in Pacific Palisades, went to school in Europe, and when I first told her I was going to take her to Africa, the first thing she said was, I don't think so. Bugs, and I don't want to be, just squatting behind bushes and all this. These misnomers of just this totally prehistoric experience. Folks, I live in Miami, Florida. There are so many more bugs in Miami, Florida than I've ever experienced in Africa, which you're going to be amazed about. First of all, you need to be prepared because in the morning in Africa, it's crisp, it's cool. Even when it's miserable here, I like to go like September, August, those times for me is when I go a lot. It's miserable, humid, hot here. In Africa, it's crisp, it's cool, it's beautiful. No bugs, no bugs. Now, you're going to see the mosquito nets. They're going to tell you, okay, protect yourself from malaria because malaria does exist in some of those areas. But the bottom line is I've been there 50 times. I think in 50 trips to Africa, I may have gotten a total of 3 mosquito bites. Never bitten by anything else. Talk about, I did see this incredible baboon spider once, which was mind-blowing. It was so fantastic. It makes a tarantula look like a flea. It was fantastic. But it was not anything that was dangerous. I mean, it's just people watch too many movies. The insects in Africa are much less than you'll find in almost any national park in the United States. The insects you see are cool things like dung beetles and some of these incredible mantises and stuff like that. I mean, the stuff at night, if you go to the lights, you see the moths that are drawn to the lights. That's the cool stuff. But as far as biting insects, things that are going to be a problem, it really is so far less than almost anywhere else I've experienced in the world.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. One of our audience members wants to know if people travel to Africa alone and if we arrange shares.
Yes, we do. We will book you in the system as a willing to share female or a willing to share male. If we get another request, we will put the 2 travelers in touch so that you can get acquainted, make sure you're compatible, and there you go, probably a travel friend for life. We can't guarantee that we will find a share, but we do have a way to identify you and put you in touch with any potential roommate.
And you'll be sharing your vehicle with the other IE guests. You wouldn't be by yourself. I mean, you'd still be part of the group traveling as a single, just to cover that aspect of it in case that was part of the question. We get lots of singles.
Thank you. We have a few questions about some of the housekeeping type items that people would be curious to know while traveling to different countries, different areas, such as immunizations and visas.
Visas are required for Uganda and Tanzania. They're very easy to obtain upon arrival, so you don't have to send off your passport and pay a lot of processing fees. We have an extensive pre-departure material booklet that we send once you book that does cover that and immunizations as well. We're not physicians. We will tell you what is required and general health practices that we recommend, such as hepatitis A, can't think of what, make sure your tetanus is up to date, but it will really be between you and your doctor or international travel clinic as to any other immunization other than what's required and what you want to what you decide that you want to take as a prevention. The CDC is also a place that has a wealth of information regarding what exists in different areas, what you must have, what they recommend, and what you might consider.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions right now. We'll give our guests, well, here's one, as a matter of fact. Are there weight restrictions on the luggage while in the bush?
Yes. I got to say that because as a photographer, it's one of my difficult challenges. I usually end up going to Africa. I don't want to scare anybody off. I shower every night, but I might go with like one pair of pants, one shirt, and 3 pair of underwear because I got to have that space for my photo gear. But you need to be very cognizant of the fact that, yeah, it's not like traveling to Europe where you can bring a ton of weight. I mean, I'm sure that Kim or Phil have a better grasp on exactly what the weight limitations are, but that is something you do need to pay attention to.
Yeah, for Uganda, it's actually, you'll be surprised at how much clothing or luggage some of these pounds limitations are. For Uganda, it is 44 pounds for a checked piece, and then you can have a camera bag, a carry-on, and something like that. But I promise you that you will need to only pack half of that, and you will probably still then not wear everything that's in your piece of luggage. Remember that the hotels and lodges provide the basic toiletries, soap, shampoos, sometimes lotions. Laundry service is available at a very nominal fee, so it's quite a lot.
Let me give my 2 cents here of one of the greatest tips I think I can give to the photographers who are going. Again, you don't need, this is not a fashion show, so you don't have to worry about wearing different clothes all the time. Just make yourself so you're covered and comfortable. But regarding the camera equipment, one of the best secrets that I have been able to kind of come across in my travels is always bring a photo vest. And what you do is, when you go to get on the plane, take all of your lenses and everything out and put them in all the pockets of your photo vest. It tremendously takes away the weight of your luggage. They don't weigh the photo vest. Your weight doesn't make a difference. They're weighing your luggage. You can literally cut your luggage weight more than in half by just taking all your lenses and camera bodies and putting it in the photo vest. And then as soon as you get back, you can put it all back in the bag. But that's one way that I have found of getting through that without any issues.
Thanks, Ron. That's a great tip for all of us, amateurs and professionals alike. We appreciate that, and if anyone hasn't seen Ron's photography, it is spectacular. Kim, you mentioned the importance of speaking with your personal physician and traveling medicine clinics to assess your own individual health needs, and we definitely think that that's critical for everyone to address their own individual health concerns. However, can you speak in general? We have a guest who's concerned about potential malaria and Zika. Are those affected in these regions?
Zika is not in these 2 parts of Africa at all that I know of right now. Anti-malaria, definitely highly recommended.
Okay, thank you. We have an additional question. How can one combine more than one safari as well as travel to other parts like Nairobi and South Africa?
That's easy. That's custom. Just contact me and be happy to put a plan together.
Wonderful.
You could do a trip that's entirely custom from beginning to end, or if you are joining one of our set trips, let's say to Kenya, Tanzania, or either one of these trips, it's very easy to do pre and post arrangements. Sometimes there are logistical challenges, but we can most of the time work it out.
Thank you very much. We'll pause for just a moment to see if there's any additional questions to come in. But other than that, it looks like we're done with the questions, unless anyone has any last thoughts. And as Kim mentioned, and as you can see on your slide, we are available. We're in Central Time. We have our toll-free number, our website, and you can always email us at nature@ietravel.com.
Yeah, one of the things I want to mention is having traveled so many times to Africa and really traveling around the world. You know, people today, they'll go on the internet and they'll see what they can book on the internet and they'll see different prices of different things. Let me say this, folks. You get what you pay for. You can go to Africa at the wrong time of the year, stay in the wrong places, and, you know, pay a little bit less, and you'll regret it. Because I can tell you that for most people, a trip to Africa is a trip of a lifetime. It's a trip that they make once if they're lucky. If they're super lucky, they can go back. But if you're investing to take a trip like this, do it the right way with a reputable company. I cannot say enough about IE. Again, I don't work for IE, I don't get paid by IE, but I have traveled with them, and the quality of the product they put out, the quality of the guides that they have with you will make all the difference in this experience. Again, this will be the trip of a lifetime. Do it the right way.
Our final question for the evening is someone's asking, are there any limitations for healthy people in their 70s? I know, it obviously depends on the people and the activities, and Ron spoke to some of the physical activity of the trekking in the Uganda program, but can you just speak in general, and obviously for this person or whomever else is wondering, we can, speak to them individually via phone or email, but can you speak to just in general, are there any limitations we should be aware of for people who are in their 70s but are in generally good health?
No, I think like Kim and Bill mentioned, the guides and the porters really help you out with everything. It's not like you have to be lugging anything. They can break the group into two groups. One can be slower than the other. They're going to make sure you get there. I have trekked personally with several people into their 70s. They said it was something that was one of the most remarkable experiences of their lives, and in many cases, their adrenaline made them go as if they were in their 30s. So it is something that there's an old saying that says, age is mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter.
And it really is just a number. I'll never forget the couple that we had in Uganda a few years ago, and they had booked in advance, and it was going to be a trip of a lifetime for them. They were so excited, and the wife twisted her ankle really, really bad prior to the gorilla trek, and she was just in tears about the whole thing. Those porters carried her to see the gorillas. Yeah, they are absolutely amazing, and will do everything and anything in their power to assist you.
I know we're running short on time. If you'll bear with us, I'll try to get a few more of these questions in. What is the highest elevation for the trip?
Are we talking about Uganda?
This person did not specify. They may be thinking of like altitude sickness. I'm not sure, but the question is just what's the highest elevation?
I think in Ngorongoro is 7,000 feet, 7,500. That's the highest in Tanzania.
Okay.
Well, Burundi is, over 8,000, but you're not going to be going to over 8,000. Every other park is between 3,900 and 5,200 feet. And again, that's just the Burundi's elevation ranges from 3,800 to over 8,500. But there's no way you'll be at that height.
And also keep in mind, to put it in perspective, folks, for those of you who have traveled here in the United States, Grand Canyon National Park at the rim is at 7,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get a few more of these in. Someone is concerned, is there medical attention available should the need arise, or is there any medical evacuation should something happen?
Well, we do recommend taking insurance. We offer optional insurance that would cover medical and emergency evacuation. On the Uganda trip, we automatically include what is referred to as flying doctors, and that would cover evacuation to get you to the nearest medical facility, depending on what's happening.
Okay. And then our last question for the evening is someone wants to know, well, I'll have to cheat because now I want to do two, but I'll keep it at this two, I promise. One person says, what is the group size that you'd take maximum? So I know our Jeff Corwin program is a little different than usual, but can you speak to our small group standard and how these two, Uganda and Tanzania, are shaping up?
The IE group standard for East Africa is 18 guests max, so that's every 6 people per vehicle, everybody having a window seat. Uganda, we have always kept smaller. As you know, this will be 14 max, including Ron and another escort. If we have, we do have some small ships that we operate in different parts of the world, so we've got a capacity there that's a little bit higher, one on the Galapagos being 32, and then our Amazon, which is about the same size. We do take singles. We do offer single supplement waivers on our voyages, and so those are some of the bigger numbers.
Excellent. And to end this wonderful webinar with our esteemed experts on the line, someone wants to conclude with, what do you love most about Africa, and where is your favorite place on the continent? Anyone who wants to field that, or everyone?
For me, Africa is magical because you can go there and you'll step outside and you'll be in an area and you look as far as the eye can see and you don't see a sign of a human being, you don't see a sign of a building. It's the way it could have been 1,000 years ago. And there's something magical about being a place that seems to be frozen in time that way. That magic of what it used to be before all of the development, all of things happened. So that's the magic of Africa to me.
Yeah, I couldn't pick a favorite country in Africa. As I said, it's just, to me, I have a feeling when I go there like no other place. I mean, you'll never watch National Geographic the same. You'll remember the smells after a rain or a sound or a call of a bird. It stays with you. It gets into your skin. I can't say enough about, as I said before, it's a place that just lets you drink in the moment. And really let everything else go. And it's a beautiful grand design that will continue to amaze me.
Yeah, I have to agree. If I had to pick one thing, I would say it would be the gorilla trekking, because it's so just unbelievably unique and very, very personal. When you are there, they're looking at your eyes, you're looking into their eyes. You don't come down off that mountain the same person that when you went up. But it's exciting to all of the senses. Some of my favorite memories of Africa are just sitting in front of my tent and listening, and simply hearing all the animals and trying to figure out which one is which, and picturing it 10,000 years ago would have been exactly the same. I wish we could say the same for 10,000 from now.
How are we on time, Christy?
I believe that is our time for this evening. So Lee, would you like to conclude?
Yes, thank you all so much for being with us. And if you came in after our introduction, we did record this, and we will be able to make it available to each of you to share with friends and family. We do hope that you will give us a call if you have a question about anything, or of course contact your travel agent. We would love to work with them or work with you to book a trip to Africa, one of these special trips or any other trip that may be of interest. So with that, we'll say good evening and conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.